All right. So the question for you is, how do you address these things in your workshop? How do you get people to inspire their learners and to avoid the traps of teaching to the test and things like that?
Well, I'll speak more to, instead of the workshop, more to my experience that I've had with writing courses, primarily with pre-service English language teachers in the VA. I'll be honest, this is something that I've kind of gone back and forth over the years, looking at how I look at the process versus the product, because I recognize students advance at different rates. So some students really come together at the end of the semester. Some students make progress throughout the semester. So looking first at the product, the actual product, what's very important for me, and this kind of speaks to Maria's point about developing a good photograph, like what is a good photograph? Having the expectations articulated between the teacher and the students from the very beginning, I think, is very important. And we can think in terms of using a rubric, and just having a discussion. Well, what does a good photograph look like? What does a good paragraph look like? What does a good essay look like? Even before the actual task or instruction begins, just to get everyone kind of on the same page and say, okay, these are the expectations. These are this is the criteria that we're looking for a good essay, so that the students from the very beginning know what to work towards. So in terms of the product, for me, I think having that discussion from the very beginning and then continually having that discussion throughout the process, I think helps. So there's kind of a mix between this dialogue of what is a good product, working towards something, our goals here of creating something that is, that's good, and then looking at the process and working towards that. So I think if we don't have that discussion from the very beginning, we have these surprises. We have this, we create a picture, and then we talk to our instructor, and they say, oh, no, this is horrible. Well, I didn't know what you were looking for, right? Or maybe I didn't understand what a good picture looked like. So you don't, for me personally, I want to try to avoid having those types of discussions with my students by, again, articulating the goals from the very beginning, typically in the form of a rubric. And you can decide whether or not the rubric is a standardized rubric, or if the students themselves are helping to create that rubric. There's a lot of different ways of going about that. But I think just having those expectations clear from the very beginning, I think, is important. And then the process, I'll be honest, I've gone back and forth, looking at, giving grades as far as them making progress, every week, every month, versus just how they looking more in terms of the process as a whole. So I don't penalize some students for coming around, so to speak, or actually developing what I was looking for later on in the semester. I've tried to be a little, I guess, more flexible in the process, so that at the end, if they've come around and I see that there has been improvement, I try to reflect that in the grades, so not to penalize those who are, a little bit more, maybe it takes them a little bit longer to acquire the skills that we're looking for. Now, of course, having said that, there are cases where students aren't just participating, right, and they're not making an effort, and those would be different cases that I would take, I would consider differently with regard to grading the process. So, it's a long answer here, but basically, that's kind of how I looking at the process and the product. I think there's a relationship between the two. I don't treat them completely separate, but I think just being accessible and trying to give them the feedback that they need is important. And when I say the feedback that they need, I'll conclude by saying that some students that I have like a lot of feedback. They will send me emails, and I will give them tons of feedback, while at the same time other students will be, they'll get discouraged by having so much feedback. So I try to accommodate those different types of students to give them enough feedback and provide the feedback, those who want more to do more, but those who feel frustrated to kind of hold back and try to find that that sweet spot, so to speak, on how much feedback, when to give it, what type of feedback to give, and so on.
Do you plan then on having, do you have like, can you imagine and set aside just-in-time process scaffolding for those students? Is that something that you have like a, a couple of cards up your sleeve per se?
If I understand your question, I'll answer. You tell me if I am not addressing your question. What I typically do, and I touched on it briefly when I was describing the workshop, but I have my students also share documents online. Where we used Microsoft Word Online this last semester, where again all of the documents are shared, so all the students can see all of the work of their classmates. In our classrooms, we have big screens that have access to the internet. So the way that it typically works is they'll have some sort of writing assignment. They will complete it online, and that will be accessible to us face-to-face in our face-to-face courses or classes via some screen, and we can have discussions and around giving them feedback in real time in class, right? So, well, it's not real time in the sense that they're there. They're not writing at that particular moment, but they have created a text. I'm giving them feedback in class, and that's one way. Another way is, of course, them working outside of class, them sending me an email, some sort of notification. I go in and give them feedback. Now, that could be in real time in the sense that they're at home at that particular moment and they send me something and I'm online. And, that happens quite a bit. It may even lead to an online discussion if need be. But typically, it's just an email. I send them feedback. And whether it's synchronous or asynchronous just depends on whether or not I'm online or connected when they send me the email and so on. So there's kind of a mix between synchronous and asynchronous feedback, and it's both a mix between face-to-face as we see each other every day throughout the week, and of course offline, just the accessing and outside of class. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, that works. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the question.
Yeah, as I see what you're doing, is you're modeling for your teacher trainees how, by having them create a writing, you're modeling for them how you would give feedback and how they might in turn teach their writing courses in that way. And that got me thinking that I've had a lot of success with blogging sometimes. Obviously, you can give feedback in a certain way if you have them produce Word documents. You can do what's it called, the error tracking, the tracking, and correction tracking. And if you're in Google Docs, you can have all kinds of resources for giving feedback that doesn't discourage students because they can just clean it up. And as they clean it up, it goes away. So, but blogging is a different. That's where you really get to say what you want to say, and a lot of students like that kind of thing, having a blog, and teachers like it too. And so sometimes when I've done a teacher workshop, I'll have them keep a blog. It could be separate from what you're doing, but just say at the end of each week or the end of each. You're doing this for 1 week, but periodically, every couple of days, produce a blog post, talk about what you're doing, feedback on that, and let them see how that feels, because that's also a really nice way of expressing yourself, and it might show them how you can, how it feels to write what you want to write.
Yeah,
well,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and that actually, even the concept scaffolding, the concept of feedback. I mean, it wasn't until I was, I was working in banking right after college, and that process of getting used to providing good feedback to other people, but even that culture, developing that culture is a good process in small steps.
Absolutely, and I think small steps is the key word there. I agree, Vince, with the importance of having blogs. I teach a writing course with my students where they're asked to create blogs, and share basically what their work in Microsoft Word Online, and then move that over to their personal blog and encourage this whole culture of sharing. In terms of the workshop, though, I wanted to basically, I don't want to overwhelm them with technology, so the idea here is first stick with the wiki and the outliner and kind of get a feel, because I'm not sure how it's all going to, how it's going to work out. But certainly, I think the importance of blogging, I'm a big proponent of teacher blogs, and encourage both pre-service students or teachers to blog, and certainly my colleagues as well.
Oh, one nice thing about blogging also, and Benjamin, you'll need to mute because I'm coming in really loud as an echo. Yeah, okay. Is that another kind of assessment is peer assessment? Because if you actually get people to comment on the blogs, then that is a different level of feedback. That kind of feedback is very important. As you said, that you try to adjust your feedback according to students who want to have every error corrected versus the ones who want some kind of general feedback. But that peer feedback is a really important aspect of blogging.
Yeah, and with blogging too, you have an opportunity or the students have an opportunity to receive feedback that is more content-based. It's not so much, you certainly could focus on the mechanics, but I typically have students, when I ask them to comment on their student blogs or their classmates' blogs, is to just focus on the opinions, what's being said, and not worry about making mistakes. Just try to get your ideas across. And I think that in and of itself also is a good exercise, so that they don't they're not overwhelmed by always thinking, I've got to write it grammatically correct all of the time. That there's this space that they feel free to share and articulate themselves in a target language where they're not under the scrutiny of making error in punctuation and that type of thing. So I think that's a good point, trying to mix those two, where they're asked to write just for the enjoyment, just for a reason to share an opinion, versus maybe under a more microscope type of view where they're looking at more of the mechanics and coherency and coherence.
Sure. It's I retired over 5 years ago when things were a bit different, and the courses I ran, I was in charge. I decided I didn't have, I did occasionally prepare for TOEIC and TOEFL and things like that. I hated it, and I think I'm not the only one. But the academic courses I ran them on Moodle, and I just used my own ideas of what was appropriate for that particular group of people. They were extremely varied in their level of English. There were near beginners to people who were really fluent. So I felt it wasn't really fair to judge them on what they produced, because in a course that was equivalent to something like 30 hours face-to-face, maybe I'm not a very good teacher, but I couldn't make them make really appreciable difference to their level in English in 30 hours. So I got them to do lots of things that were related, both blogs I didn't know about at the time. I tried to get them to use wikis. They had a great deal of trouble understanding how they functioned and what they could do with them. These were distance learning courses. I never saw the students face to face, so communication was quite difficult. But I got them to work a lot on forums and a lot of collaborative. They had projects that they had to do in groups of 3 or 4, which for the ones who managed to do it worked very well. They liked it very much because they were in different countries, and they they managed to get themselves organized to produce something that they could then test out on the other students. That worked very well. but I was working over a 3-month period, not a not a 5-day period, which is different. And for the accuracy part of it, I used I made my own, either my own or sometimes other people's interactive exercises on different aspects of academic writing, mainly based on abstracts because they're short. And they're still online if anyone's interested. But I mean, I feel I'm really out of date because so much that can be done now couldn't be done 5 years ago.
You should paste the link in our chat wing, and we can have a look. That would be interesting.
Where is it? And I should say that this is where I used to work, and I should say that not mine. What happened?
Okay, so a collection
because they're made by someone else, but the site has been redone by a technician who doesn't understand about giving people their due. It's the first one, called, just so that you know, is done by someone you maybe heard of, by Elizabeth Hanson Smith.
Oh, yes.
No relation.
Yes.
No relation to me, but we just happen. It's hers.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, when we'll let you work offline, and or you can be thinking of, you can be doing that while we're concluding here.
Yes, I put it in the chat.
Yes. Okay. All right. So maybe Maria, you can paste it, copy it into, or we can just hit it, or maybe you could paste it for us, Maria, under the chat wing. That's Maria's job.
It's already there. I put it there already.
Great, Gordon. That's Gordon's job. We got lots of helpers here. Okay, wonderful.
It must be lag on your end or something, something like that.
Yeah, well, I'm using Chrome, and I need to use Firefox for this because you can copy and paste from the Firefox Java, but you can't do it in Chrome. So anyway, this is the way it is. Well, okay, any further comments? Questions for Benjamin? More remarks, Benjamin? Go ahead.
Well, if there are no more questions, certainly appreciate everyone attending and those who are viewing the recording. And just want to conclude by saying that if anyone has any questions or comments about the course itself, if they want to participate or they want to contribute to the wiki itself, or just want to leave comments, feel free to let me know. I'm more than happy to provide that information or to assist. And thanks, Vance, for taking the time to give me a space here to share this. And yeah, thanks everyone. Appreciate it.
Yeah, on that note, we didn't have anything for the last couple of weeks here, so both of our last sessions were just brought together at the spur of the moment. We were in episode 306 when Maha Abdul Monim said, "Oh, you should see this tool called Blab." So that was episode 307, and that was just organized within that week. And then Benjamin just came along now at the very last minute and offered to do this for us. This is episode 308, I should say. And coming up, though, since we have the Electronic Village Online sessions, we have full to brimming, mostly with my Minecraft colleagues. So there's going to be a lot of emphasis on Minecraft coming up in the next few weeks. But and then after that, again, we hit a little bit of a doldrum. So if anybody would like to contribute here, any listeners, anybody in the chat here or wherever you are, we run, and for 308 sessions already, we've done it the same way. We just get colleagues to talk about what they're doing and what they're passionate about, and everyone is welcome to contribute or to help us to learn or share an expertise with us or start a topic that we'd like to discuss.
Vance, this is just a quick question. So these weekly sessions in January, once you begin with the EVO sessions, will they be pertaining to those EVO sessions? Do I understand you right?
Yeah, but only because I've asked my co-moderators in the session to talk about Minecraft, and but there could be other sessions as well. Lots of people in EVO are putting on sessions, and as I find out about them, and if they're of interest and they want people to join them, if they're open as we are, then I list them at Learning Together. So you can go to the learningtogether.pbworks.com, and you can find the schedule of what's coming up. And I expect that to be kind of full for the next few weeks as people announce their sessions. A lot of times they use Blackboard Collaborate, which is on a grant to Webheads in Action, and from learningtimes.com. So they've been giving us that, and we schedule events there as well. So when people schedule them, they have to schedule them if they're going to use the room. Then we know about them. So we'll put all these things that we know about at the Learning Together wiki. And if you come to learningtogether.net, learningtogether.pbworks.com, you'll find the schedule there. And once they're done, they're archived at learningtogether.net.
Great. I see that Maria's uploaded the link to the EVO sessions. Great. Thank you, Maria, for sharing that.
Not at all. Hope to see you all there.
Yeah, those are nice, busy times for the next couple of weeks. But then in February, we're back to organizing on the spur of the moment. Okay. Well, anyway, thank you very much. This is the 3rd of January, 2016, episode 308 of Learning Together. We've been talking to Benjamin Stewart in Aguascalientes, Mexico, and other people who joined us as well. And so nice to see everybody, and thanks as usual. By the way, Benjamin has a Google Plus community, Teachers for Interactive Language Learning, and it's got thousands of members. How many thousand? How many does it have?
It's over 3,000 now. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, so it's a pretty substantial community. He keeps it going pretty well. Curates his lots of links at the community page. So maybe we could stick I'll put that. If that doesn't appear in the link to it doesn't appear, I'll put it in Chatwing. Okay.
Great.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks everybody. Take care.
Okay. Good night.
Thank you very much for letting me join in, and Happy New Year to everyone.
Welcome anytime, Gordon. Yeah.
Thank you, Gordon. You too. Take care.
Thank you. Good luck with the course.
Thank you, Maria.
Bye.
Bye, Gladys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.